reality is reflected in the material reality. There's a connection there. So if in the material reality you have certain qawaneen, certain rules, such as, for example, the law of ownership, right, which we'll use this later on, because tonight we're going to talk a little bit about ubudiyah and the ownership. The law of ownership that we have in the dunya. Right? This belongs to me, for example, or this phone belongs to me. Right? It doesn't say anywhere, but it's the law of ownership. I own this. And another person doesn't own that. And if he kind of steals from us, I take him to the law, to the court. This law of ownership itself, where does it really stems out from? And why everybody is accepting? Can anybody show me in the physical sense, this is ownership? This thing here, this material thing is ownership. It's an immaterial thing. It is an immaterial reality. It is a metaphysical thing. Ownership is a phenomenon, which is a metaphysical phenomenon. But everybody accepts. The materialist will never say that, no, I will not believe in ownership unless I see it in matter. It's not in matter. Nobody can show ownership. So if you are a true materialist, don't accept ownership. Why are you accepting in this metaphysical reality, which is ownership? But when it comes to the ownership of God, they say, no, that ownership is something else. So the reason why man accepts ownership is because it is embedded in his fitra, in his nature, to accept the ownership. So the qawaneen and the laws, the secular laws that we have, are based on metaphysical realities, and these realities are accepted by the fitra, by the nature of man. He doesn't question, he just accepts it. Right? So the rules that exist within the dunya, for example, opportunities, special place, this makan, this is a special place. These same rules apply in our religious realities as well. But unfortunately, when it comes to our deen, when it comes to our religion, we tend to question, it doesn't really matter. It's the heart what it should be really. Or the spirit, that's what it comes. No. Yes, that is true. We are not denying that. Without spirit, if you do amal takbatak, no use, right? But the point is that praying on time, there's a value to that time. Praying in the masjid, there's a value to it. Praying during the time when the tears are flowing in the eyes, there's a heart. That's a state of a person where the heart is broken and the tears are flowing. It's an hour of acceptance of dua. Why is it that the Prophet was asked to separate the children from the mothers so that they cry and they do dua and the nuzul of rahmah comes about? There's some metaphysical vibration that is sent from the body, from the human soul towards the heaven, which becomes the source of nuzul of rahmah and mercy. Why is it crying for Hussein? The tear of Hussein is so valuable. The Imam says, Imam Sadiq al-Islam says that 3 eyes will never cry on the day of judgment. An eye that protects itself from seeing haram, that eye will never cry. An eye that was awake in vigil, in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that eye will never cry. An eye that shed tears out of love of God, out of fear of God, that eye will never cry. There isn't any mizan, there isn't any balance that could weigh the tear. The mizan has not been created because that one tear puts off the fire of hell. So tears are important. There's something metaphysical to it. That is why we tend to remind us of the story of Imam Hussein, so that our heart melts, so that tear comes into our eyes, so that through this tear we connect to God. There's some sort of, see, children, in order they want to get something, they cry. As soon as they cry, the mother hearts will, the father melts. Give in. We just give in. Wife, a lot of people smiling here now, they don't have. As soon as the wife starts to cry, poor husband, they say, oh, no problem, yes, please don't cry. Give in. Tears have that magical power. The nature of insan is the nature of God. Our nature and God's nature is similar. If we are of forgiving, if we forgive people, God is also of forgiving. Why do we forgive people? We forgive people because we feel for them. We care for them. They melt our heart. They do something to really attract us, so that mercy falls from the heaven. So tear brings mercy. Now I'll just quickly mention in the margin as we are talking about Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain in Ziyarat Arba'in we said, Qatilul Abara. Abara also means tears. I've been killed for tears. So that the nation cries and reaches salvation. There's a lot of explanation there. I will not go into that. Because some people might think that only cry for Imam Hussain, he will be saved. No. We do have riwayat saying that crying for Imam Hussain will wipe away the sins in the past and the future as well. Because that tear of Imam Hussain will create that revolution in the heart and will never make him go against what Imam Hussain wants. Hur cried and never changed back. So a true tear of Imam Hussain will not make us return back to our habits. So Thursday night is that night. It has a value. The time has a value. The whole creation is raised near God. And it's very easy to cling on to the mercy of Allah. Night of Qadr once again has that same specific value. Where the nation is raised, where the creation is raised. And you have that nuzulat taking place. See, there's a hadith which says every Thursday night, the knowledge of the imam increases. They are increase in their knowledge, in their understanding, in their ma'rifat. Because God is infinite. To know God is not a task of a human soul. It's a constant journey. We will always be learning about God, in the dunya, barzakh, and hereafter as well. We will never stop learning. The Imam says every Thursday night, God inspires him with the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his heart. Every Thursday night. And when the ma'rifat when Imam is inspired by the ma'rifat, automatically the followers of the Imam are also inspired by the ma'rifat of God. Why is it that the Prophet have said that the nation will come who will understand Surah Tawheed? Not my ummah, my nation doesn't really comprehend and understand what Tawheed is, what Surah Tawheed is, but in the future they will come. Today, alhamdulillah, we find that although people, youth, our youngsters, the type of questions they have, the type of understanding they have, without even studying philosophy or irfan, they have a very special understanding of some of the unique principles of Tawheed. Naturally, they've been inspired by it. So every Thursday night, there is some harakah, there is some movement that takes place. Imam says every Thursday night, ma'rifat of Tawheed increases in our heart. So Sheikh Sadhu have a riwayat saying that in the Jannah, there will be castles of the Mu'mineen, and Allah will send vehicles of light. There will be vehicles of light. And on these vehicles of light, they will travel towards God. And when they return back, the family members and the servants and those who are in their vicinity, in their sort of rule, because every moment will have his own kingdom. the people in His kingdom, when they return back from this journey on the vehicle of light back to their kingdom, the people in the kingdom will say that, what Nurani you have become? Where did you go? Then they will reply that God hath taken us towards Him and showed us His existence, which is a mystery. God is a mystery. That's the beauty of God, that He is a mystery. Nobody knows God. That's why the Prophet said that, "O Allah, increase in my astonishment." God is astonishing. God is beautiful. God is not what I am saying. God is not what you are saying. God is not what they are saying. God is a mystery. And that's the beauty. So they say that we were taken towards the heaven, towards God, and God showed Himself. And that jalwa, that manifestation of God we have never seen, and we have benefited from it. And as we have benefited from it, we are giving that light to you. And they are benefiting from that light. And we ask God, "Oh God, can we really stay here forever?" God replied, "You will have another trip." That means they will be given another opportunity to come towards God. So the Thursday night is that night, the night of a journey towards God. The tears have value. So Dua Kumail that we recite on a Thursday night, it kind of, acts as a catalyst to really create that soul which is prepared, because we are Allahumma aghfir li ad-dhunub allati tunzilu al-bala tahbisu ad-du'a. Because Quran clearly says that the balas that you see is because of your own actions. Because we do something, the reaction of that is the bala. We ourselves stop our du'as reaching God by our actions. Right? We ourselves regard du'as as nothing. As our fourth Imam says that, always regard 4 things while asking for 4 things. 3 things while asking for 3 things. One is the acceptance of dua is in dua. Never say, "Maulana Sahib, badi dua." No, special dua, Maulana Sahib. The acceptance of dua is in dua. There is no special, there is no big, there is no small. Small dua. The acceptance is in it. And do it sincerely. And ask. And Allah will give. Sometimes you also say that, "Oh, I wish I have some, ras malai." I know you guys are hungry, me too. So it's a long fast. Then somebody brings you, my son passed exam or driving test, and here's the mithai. So we say that, "Oh, I should have wished something else." That was a dua, right? So there is no big and small dua. So the acceptance of dua is in dua. So regard dua, period, Imam says. The azab is hidden in the sins itself. Do not say small sin or big sin. The azab is in the guna itself. The awliya of God, the saints of God, are hidden amongst mankind. So respect each and every human being. Do not say that, "Oh, you should have an amama, then only I should respect him. You should have a turban on his head. You should have a beard. He should be like this, or he should be like that." No. The awliya are hidden amongst mankind. Because we have no idea how that individual, this individual, that person, that brother, people who are on the street, how they connect to God. And they have their own beautiful way of connecting that we lack. So therefore, it's the night of dua. So Dua al-Kumail tends to act like that catalyst, in which we clearly ask, "Oh Allah, forgive the sins," which becomes the reason of the descending of calamities. We don't know what sins they are. And as a matter of fact, there's a list of things that becomes the source of descent of the calamities from God, for example. Oh Allah, forgive those sins which become the reason that doesn't allow the acceptance of my du'as. There's a list of sins, for example, the imams have talked about. For example, cutting the kin, sila rahim, cutting relationship with our brothers and sisters, with our friends, with our family members. We have no right to do that. Unfortunately, sometimes we tend to use the religion itself to cut relationship by saying that it is Amar bil Maruf. Oh, because the family is not religious, now I have to do Amar bil Maruf. So what I do, I tell them to be religious, they are not being religious, so I cut my relationship with them, so that this is Amar bil Maruf. This is not Amar bil Maruf. No. Imam Sadiq, alayhi salam, while he was dying, he has given a portion of his heritage to one of the family member who conspired against him, who poisoned him, who had hands in poisoning of the Imam, and the family member said to him that your state that you have now and you are dying is because of this person you are leaving money, you are leaving heritage to. Imam recited the words of Surah Ra'd, saying that the kin and the family members are joined by God. Who am I to cut it? God have joined me, and I have no right to cut that. Right? So the cutting of relationship are the reason of not acceptance of our du'as. Right? We have to join Sila Rahim. It's one of the greatest acts that one could do, could carry out. Especially on the night of Qadr, so powerful. Khayrun min alfi shahr. One more story I would like to go back. I'm sorry we are going in tangent. It was one of these nights. It's like a kashkol. The kashkol is like a, in Farsi and also in Arabic and in Urdu is the same. It's like a black, sort of like a container. The Sufis, they have it. It's like a black container made out of the seeds of some material from the tree. And they go to different houses. People put food. It becomes kashkol now. So tonight is like a kashkol. Tonight is everything going to happen. Because it's Shabbat Qadr as well. I'm really sorry we are not really following it. We're not in order. But it's important that we really understand, the reality of things taught by the Imam. Amar bil Ma'ruf. There was a man who was the family member of the 9th Imam or the 10th Imam. And he was an open drinker. He would drink openly. And he would go to people and ask for money. Sheikh Abbas in Muntaha al-Amal had mentioned this riwayah, this story of the Imam. And people, eventually, there was a companion of the Imam, a wakil of the Imam in Qom. He used to live in Qom. So he comes to this wakil of the Imam to ask money. So the wakil said that, well, if I give him money, he's going to drink it. He's going to use it for drinking alcohol. So I'm not going to give him, so they rejected him. Then the time of Hajj comes. This wakil of the Imam comes to the Imam to have blessing that I'm going to Hajj this year, so please advise me. Because that's usually the case when we are leaving, we speak to our elders, seniors, get advice. So Imam said, I'm not going to meet you. He's giving the message. He came, but he said, I don't want to see him. Then he was shocked. The wakil, he is the representative of the Imam in Qom, very pious person, a scholar. Imam said, I don't want to see him. Then he was shocked. He said, is there any reason? Then Imam sent a message that you go back to Qom and then you make this person radi, please this person whose heart is broken. But he says that, I did not give him the money because I thought he will use that money to drink. That's the reason I did not give him. That's how we sometimes tend to calculate, calculations, right? But Imam says, no, make him radhi, make him please him. You know, make it up for the mistake that you have done. You have broken his heart. So he goes back to him, knocks his door, he comes to the door and he said, you know, and he was Sayyid as well, your relative have said this, that. Once you came to my house and I did not attend to you, and I have broken your heart, please forgive me. He said, really? The Imam have said this? Even after knowing that I'm a filthy person, I'm a corrupt person, I drink openly. Even after that, he cares for me so much. He said, yes, please. Then since that day, he destroyed all the alcohol he had in his house. He confined himself to the haram of Hazrat Masuma. He did i'tikaf and he died mutakif. This is Amal bil Ma'ruf. This is the way to do Amal bil Ma'ruf. By connecting, by being kind, by loving, by caring. That's how Imam have done. But unfortunately, our approach is something has happened, something went wrong. So tonight is that night in which we seek forgiveness, the night of qadr as well, the Thursday night as well, and also is the eve of the shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, alayhi salam, really. It's a very powerful night. Now, if you help me with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We'll do a little bit of a recap or what the topic that we are doing so that we have some sort of conclusion. As we said, ubudiyah, which is servitude, you know, this is the thing that changes copper to gold. If you have servitude, if there's something little, you know, that we do, and there is ubudiyah, sincerity, it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that really changes. That action really becomes, you know, a heaven of an action. You know, that becomes very heavy on the weight in the hereafter as well. And not only that, it changes the whole inside of ours, the way we see things. And Quran have clearly mentioned that whosoever acts righteously, whether male or female, should he be faithful, we shall revive him with a good life. Man amala salihan dhakarin aw unatha, whether from male or female, you know, we will provide them with a hayatan tayyaba, with a life that is tayyab, with a good life. He might not have nothing, but he has the best of his life. He is eating dry bread with water, but the best life is the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Outwardly he does not have that, but he has that inside. He knows. And it's that night where the whole Kufa and the orphans of Kufa, they say that we have become orphan again. That's the best life. Yeah, outwardly we might not see. Right? Why it is given to them? Because that ubudiyat was there. That servitude was there. Umar ibn Abdullah spits on the face of Imam Ali. Got very angry. Ali, have to control himself. He did not kill him. It has to be for Allah. Although if you would have killed him, it's a battle going on. He has all right to do so. He is a soldier, you know, of Islam, you know, and you know they've been imposed by this war. Right? But he did not. He refrained. He wanted that for the lillah and no one else. That is ubudiyah. That has to be for Allah. Then when a person starts doing that, in big things and small things. Imam Sajjad, when he gives to a person, he kisses his hands first and then he gives to a person. That was this methodology of Imam Sajjad. They asked him why. He said, this goes in the hands of God first. So I'm kissing the hand of God, and then there's this, whoever is in need, I'm giving him. Right? That sincerity, that ubudiyah, that lillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the whole insight of life, the whole perspective of life, the way one sees things really changes altogether. Right? Now, as we were looking at the Unwan Basri, the hadith of that old companion, according to the Imam, the first thing that he mentions that you have to achieve or you have to reach to the essential reality of servitude. And the first point that he mentions there, how to reach the essential reality of servitude, is regarding the everything belonging to God, the malikiyat. The ownership belongs to God and no one else. I'm nothing. Everything belongs to God. That is very important. That is the foundation of even the Irfan Amali, which Allama Tabatabai in Risale Wilaya have discussed. That is the first step. Right? That is considered to be the first step. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This ownership we talked a little bit about, and he discusses it from a philosophical point of view in regards to the ownership. Ownership, there are two types. One is relative and the one is real. And this real is also of two types. Now, relative ownership, I'm renting a car. I become a temporary owner of that thing. Right? I'm relatively owning that. I'm a relative owner. But who's the real owner? Is that company, Hertz or whatever, right? E Enterprise. They are the real. But temporarily, it's mine. I'm owning it. That's my car. I'm renting a house. That's my house. I say that's my house. I never say that. Okay, it belongs to someone else and I'm renting it. I don't explain the whole thing. But I know inside within me, it's not really mine, but I'm considering it to be mine. That is ownership. That is a form of ownership. Then you have another form of ownership which is a bit more real, which is the ownership of our eyes, of our body parts. It's mine, it's not yours. It's directly mine. That's ownership. That's also an ownership. So on this basis of ownership that we have, naturally in our nature we have this qanun, this rule of ownership. The conventional, the secular law comes about and then they make this law of ownership, which we all accept without ifs and buts. We just accept that. Right? So in the same way, Allama Tabatabai discusses this, this law of ownership as where a person doesn't own anything. We as insan, we as human being doesn't own anything. The absolute ownership of everything, it belongs to God. So now here, in Unwan Basri, or the first thing which Imam Sadiq is pointing out to, for that true ubudiyah to come about, is recognizing God as the absolute owner. He is the Malik. Malik Yawmiddin. That's what we say. That's what we recite. He is the Malik. He is the owner of everything. And whatsoever he gives or ibadat that he is performing, he doesn't regard that to be as his. It is the power of God. It is the tawfiq of God that have allowed him to participate, that have allowed him to do it. When he has that in mind, obviously he is safe from many things. He is safe from his own nafs, he is safe from, do not disrespecting others and other in people's space. He's reciting, well, I'm doing dua, can't you see? I'm doing dua, can't you see? And if one is being disrespectful, the person who's next to you, for example. That's why when you are in the masjid, it's not recommended to recite loudly, because that disturbs the people who are sitting next to you. Even the Quran. Even the Quran one is not supposed to recite loudly, because if that is disturbing the person next. So the ownership will save us a lot. Save us from a lot of things. If we say that what I'm worshipping, what I'm reciting, it's all Allah's. There's nothing of mine. Although insan, have that aspect of being contaminated with. We are insan after all, right? Somebody comes and say, oh mashallah, you recite so good. We try to say that, well, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm reading nothing. Right? That ownership belongs to God. So that's something that we really need to practice on. Whenever we do good, the worship that we are praying, the ziyarat that we have performed, all of these things we really have to say that, okay, it's Allah's. It's nothing to do with me, what I have done, right? Now, when a person reaches to that kamal and that perfection, where everything he regards that to be la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Why was Imam Hussain reciting that on the day of Ashura a lot? One example, and then we will open up the session for question and answer, and this will lead us to understand the station of Imamat. See, if there is a match, boxing or whatever, a fight, if I fight and defeat 20, 30, 40, I will be proud of myself. Yes, I'm doing it good. Right? But what was Imam Hussain saying? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He was conquering the ground of Karbala on the right, marking it with the spear, pushing the enemy in the back, conquering the land of Karbala on the left, marking it with the spear, pushing the army in the back. The whole Karbala he conquered it. They went till Kufa. But every time he was marking that, he was saying, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Me is nothing. The quwwah is illa billah. That's what it is. Right? So one regards his quwwah as nothing. That's why Amir al-Mu'minin says this lifting of Khaybar is not with the dry bread and water. That physical person cannot do that. It is the quwwah of Allah. So that quwwah needs to flow from the divine through that vessel, through that medium, to this creation, and it does wonders. Right? Sometimes this is symbolized in that whirling dervishes, right? They say that we are doing it, we are getting the energy, they do a dance like this, for example, this energy flowing from here to the body, to this earth, and this. Nabi Akram was that medium of bringing the word of God. Imam is that, to bring that all beauty, that all sort of blessings to mankind. He becomes that medium, he becomes that source. Why is that? Because he is regarding himself as nothing. He is fana, billah. He is la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That is an imam. So on the night of Qadr, whatever we are destined for the future, it goes to the imam. And that is why we do tawassul to the imam. We do ziyarat of the imam, for example. We do tawassul to the imam of our time. Because it's tanazzalul malaikatu wa ruh. There's a descent that is happening.